because, you know, we don't want no beef or anything and someone to come take it. So you're like, okay, man, that's cool, man. Thank you for looking out for me. So now when it's time to go, you say to her dad, yo, dude, where's my rope? And her dad says, what say you? And he said to him, that you, my Adoni, shall give me the cord and the mantle made with diverse colors, which you did conceal with you in your house to take care of. So in other words, dude, you got my rope. It's in your house. You hid it for me. I like it. Jasher 18:30. Hadad answered the man, saying, this is the interpretation of your dream. You say, what does that mean, Anthony? It means that I gave you the keys to park the Mercedes in the lot. You say to Hadad, dude, where's my keys to my car? And Hadad says, what you say? That's a dream. This is the interpretation of your dream. The cord which you did see means that your life will be lengthened out like a cord, having seen the mantle colored with all sorts of colors, means that you shall have a vineyard which you will plant trees of all fruits. The man has your rope for your donkey. What you gonna do? Hold on to the donkey hair as you're riding? And you say, dude, where's my stuff? And he says, man, that's a dream. Dude, where's the keys to my Mercedes? What? What you say? The interpretation of that dream is you are going to have a long life, moving about very friskily, or, very, very fast. Meaning that there is no Mercedes that exists. That was just a dream in your head. But what about the keys in your hand? Come on, man. Do I have to interpret that dream for you? So this is the mess that the guys pulled. So we've got sex. We've got theft where they mob the new person. We've got corruption here. In order for this to continue, we've got to be able to have corrupt officials. And here we go. Jasher 18:32. Now the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver. This is Hadad speaking. The sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver, which is my charge for interpreting the dreams, and of you only I'll require 3 pieces of silver. So in other words, and this is a discount charge for dreams, because normally Hadad is going to charge you 4 pieces of silver, but today he's only going to charge you 3. So what Hadad says is this: even though he has your rope for your donkey, he's saying that was a dream, and he interpreted this dream. Then he says, you need to pay me for this interpretation. You didn't ask him for that. You just say, give me my rope. But again, I interpreted that dream. So you got to give me some money, man. What about my Mercedes, man, and my car keys? Dude, that was a dream. And I'm telling you, since I just interpreted that Mercedes dream, I'm going to need some money, man. Dude, you never heard this story before about Cedom and Amorah. We've always told, it was sex and they was lewd and lascivious and whatever. They never went into detail. But there was more detail to what was going on there. You show up as a new person. You've got goods to sell. You're pushing your little paleta cart, which is ice cream, folks. Paleta is ice cream in Spanish. But you're pushing your paleta cart. I was an ice cream man for 8 years. That's why I know. But you're pushing your cart. The mob runs over. Everybody reaches in your paleta cart. And they're running out with ice cream. And then when you say, what is this? Dude, everybody holds up the ice cream in your face and say, This is the only little thing I took. And then run you out of town. Now you come into town, nowhere to stay. This dude offers you an opportunity to stay at his house. And what does he do? When you say, dude, I need the rope for my donkey, he's like, rope for your donkey? Dude, that was a dream, man. And let me interpret that dream. And now that I've interpreted the dream, I'm going to need 4 pieces of silver. Okay, let me continue. Jasher 18:33. So this is the man who was riding a donkey. The man was provoked at the word of Hadad, and he cried bitterly, and he brought Hadad to Sirach, judge of Cedom. So there were 4 judges in these cities. And the judge of Cedom was Sirach, S-E-R-A-K. He was a judge there. And Sirach says, Jasher 18:34, the man laid his cause before Sirach the judge. So he tells the judge, look, judge, this is what went down, and dude has my rope. And listen what the judge says. When Hadad replied, saying, it is not so, but this the matter stands, and the judge said to the traveler, this man Hadad tells you the truth, for he is famed in the city for the accurate interpretation of dreams. Okay, so in order for there to be this corruption, you've got to have this double-handed flow. You've got corrupt people out in society, but you have to have these corrupt officials backing it for this corruption to continue. So it's obvious that as this corruption goes hand in hand, there has to be some kind of payoff from these people out in society, because they're receiving the benefit from these officials here. So there must be some type of kickback. And this is why in America, the worst thing you can have in our political system is campaign donations. The reason is, it's called corruption. It's bought government. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. As long as someone can give campaign donations, they can buy the person who you put in office. And that's what happens in America. How the person you put in office no longer will hear your voice. Why? Because the money is drowning out his ears. Okay, so we have sex, we have theft, we've got corruption, but we have to continue. We need intentional starvation. Yes. Remember, this is Cedom and Amorah, one of the most wonderful places in the world. Isn't that what they tell you about America? It's so wonderful here. But what happened here in America, we make Cedom and Amorah really look like the kitty cat, the Boy Scout. Because what is going on in America is far worse than what was happening there. Okay, we're on Jasher 19:8. Intentional starvation. We've got sex, theft, we've got corruption, now we have intentional starvation. When a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold. Wow. Same as America. We'll give you food stamps, EBT benefits, and cause a proclamation. I'm sorry, folks. A proclamation? Oh, I can't pronounce that. My tongue is tied. Proclamation. Proclamation. I can't pronounce it. I don't know why. I went swimming this morning, but that shouldn't be it. But I cannot pronounce this word right now. Okay. But in other words, we're going to say within the whole city, not to give him a morsel of bread to eat, and if the stranger should remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold which they had given him. So in other words, in America, they can give you all the food stamps you want. But if the store will not sell you the food, the same thing will happen here. So in America, what we did was, which is even more wicked, you have to stick this needle in your arm and take this injection if you want to come in this store and eat. You have to take this needle and inject it into your body if you want to be able to work here. You have to take this needle and inject it into yourself. Well, what is it? Well, they say it's supposed to be good for you. Well, didn't a few people die? But hey, you still have to inject it if you want to come in here. So it's no different in America. In fact, it's even more wicked. Because you have to accept this injection if you want to come in here. And the injection is death. Here in Cedom, they gave me silver and gold and no food. Dude, can I buy that donkey? They'll sell you the donkey. They just won't sell you nothing to eat. Ride up on out of there. But at least you're not leaving broke. But what they did was they would give you this gold and silver and nothing to eat and let you starve to death so they can take the gold and silver back. But that's not the only thing they took. Check this out. Jasher 19:9. And those that could recognize the silver and gold which they had given him took it back. And at his death they also stripped him of his garments. And they would fight about him. Now think about it. And I want you to understand. The man is poor. You've seen homeless people in your community. Many of them clothes are soiled. They stink. And you starved a man to death. Okay, he died in the clothes. You know they're going to stink. You take your gold and silver back. And then you fight over the clothes. Dude, y'all is way out of hand. You way out of hand. And not only you're way out of hand. What happened is, folks, I was looking at Jasher 19:1, but this really would go to another subject. But let me run this down to you real quick. The cities of Cedom had 4 judges. Jasher 19:2. By desire, the 4 judges, the people of Cedom and Amorah, had beds erected in the streets of the city. You thinking, I know you thinking this is some sexual, huh? No! This is how crazy this mess was. If a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of the beds and forced him to lie down in them. I come to the city trying to sell my goods. Y'all done did a mob on me. I come to the city with my rope. Dude then took it. And then when I asked for it back, he said it's a dream and I need to pay him for the dream. Jasher 19:4. And he lay down. 3 men would stand at his head and 3 men would stand at his feet. And they would measure him by the length of the bed. If the man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him, each end. When he cried out to them, they would not answer him. So in other words, we've got a bed, 6 foot, but dude is only 5'9". So the 3 of them grabbed the arms, the 3 of them grabbed the legs, and they would pull the guy. And when he would be howling and screaming, we wouldn't even listen. Jasher 19:5. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw the beds together on each side and each end until the man had reached the gates of death. So now, if the man is longer than the bed, okay, maybe 6'5" or something, and the bed is only 6 feet, we're going to take the other bed, because remember it was 4 of them out there, we're going to take the other bed and we're going to put it in the end. And then we still is going to pull on this man until he reaches the gates of death, which means until he dies. Come on, what do we have in Cedom? Sex, theft, corruption. We have stretching the person until he dies. Intentional starvation. In the world today, people are not starving because there is no food. In 2015, they raised enough food for 15 billion people. And there are only 7 billion people in this world. When they tell you there's not enough food, they're lying. When they tell you there's not enough houses, they're lying. Because a generation ahead of you that is passing away now, they're larger than the generation that is behind them. That means there's 3 times the amount of houses there are. And you're talking about tiny house? Anyone that comes to you talking about a tiny house does not know Yahuwah. Because he is a Yahuwah, or a God of abundance. And a God of abundance is not going to have you in a tiny house. You didn't see Solomon going into a tiny house, or King David, because they had abundance from Yahuwah. So if you have abundance from who you say a God in heaven, that means you're not talking about a tiny house. So what caused the destruction of Cedom and Amorah? Sex, theft, corruption, intentional starvation. We're doing heinous acts such as a person comes to our community and the first thing we do is our strong men go take hold of him, lay him in the bed and stretch him to death. What is the purpose of that? It's because you're wicked. The only reason that you deny proper education, you put fluoride in the water and you say it's supposed to be for cavities, but fluoride in the water actually affects the brain. And it's like what we would call not mentally retarded, but that's what it's doing, because that's what Hitler did to the Jews in Germany. So the acts that are being performed here in America exceed Cedom and Amorah. This is why you have to understand America is primed to be destroyed, no doubt. And you always hear, this is a Christian nation. Really? I don't know what heaven thinks about that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough for today. The gates of death, Cedom and Amorah. And we'll continue a little more. I know we'll have to dig up a little more of the dirtiness, but I'm getting close to where Cedom and Amorah is being destroyed due to this. But remember, it's not because of sex like we were always taught in lewd and lascivious behavior. No, there are other things that went on also to bring the destruction. This is Anthony Shoulders for NoWomenInHeaven.com. You be safe. Take care. Thank you very much.